Fueled by Death Guest.
Okay, so you've been working here for 6 months in customer service, but before you started working at Death Wish, correct me if I'm wrong, you did something similar, correct?
Yeah, I was doing customer service for a company called Wink out of Schenectady, New York. Tech support.
Tech support. That's pretty incredible, and that puts you in a camp pretty much outside of a lot of people who work for Death Wish, because more often than not, when we do this show, we find out that employees here are doing a lot of the jobs they're doing for the very first time. So you actually have a leg up coming in and knowing what you're doing. Right. Like, when you started working in our customer service department, were there things working for a tech customer service that you kind of were able to port over to here? Were you using any of the same programs or any of the same kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I was using the same program for ticket solving called Zendesk.
Okay.
So that gave me a good idea of like how the workflow went and things like that. But yeah, I mean, customer service in itself is kind of samey all across the board. It's a lot about like how you talk to people, and empathy is a big part of it, like understanding, why people are frustrated, or, figuring out the best way to make it happen for whoever you're talking to at that time.
So how long did you work for this company before working for us?
2.5 years.
Wow, so you did a lot of customer service then.
Right, yeah. And before that, I was kind of even in customer service still, retail at Trader Joe's, and then before that, I was a barista, so it kind of all comes back around.
Oh, wow.
To,
he's a bona fide expert. I bet you think you're better than us.
just a little bit.
Oh, man. So I got to ask this question then. Even though you're from the area, where and when did you hear about Death Wish Coffee?
Yeah, so it was actually when I was working in coffee shops and stuff like that. Death Wish was kind of getting tossed around. I had been to Saratoga Coffee Traders a couple times. I'm from Troy, so I didn't make it out to Saratoga a whole lot. But when I did, we would have to find good coffee. Especially, I've been working in the industry since I was 16, so I've kind of always been a little bit of a coffee snob, or at least I wouldn't seek out like Dunkin' Donuts as my first choice, and I would kind of be like, okay, what's available? Is there something that's like a little bit you don't like on the upper level?
You don't like to drink shit.
Right, yeah.
Or at least was just chilled out to you. I mean, I'm kind of the same way with restaurants. Like, I'm not just going to go into a place that I'm not from, even if it's just in my backyard, and I'm not just going to go and sit down at McDonald's or an Applebee's. I'm going to try and look for a restaurant that happens to be around there because I enjoy a good meal. And it's the same thing that you're saying with coffee. It's like, you're not going to go into just a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts just because it's there. You're going to kind of try to seek out that coffee shop.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I'm always up for trying new things and, seeing what is available. So, while Starbucks is okay in that I know what I'm going to get every time I go there pretty much, the same can't be really said for Dunkin'. I don't know. I'm not trying to trash anything, but, there's a real discrepancy between orders, like, especially because with the whole Northeastern vernacular of, like, what light and sweet means.
Yes.
And things like that. But since then, I only drink my coffee black nowadays anyway. So it makes it much easier, but it also makes it a lot harder to bear other coffees that aren't maybe up to standard by masking it with a bunch of cream.
What's
sugar,
your favorite way to brew?
I am big into the Chemex right now.
Nice, yeah, it's fun, right?
It's a lot of fun.
Have you used that little guy yet? The little one cup?
No, I just saw that on your story. Yeah.
I love that thing. Although I feel like I did it wrong because it drained out too fast. I think because I used a regular size filter. I think because it had ripples along the glass, the filter should be laid against the glass perfectly, and that's how it drips out slowly. Otherwise, if you have those air gaps, it's just gonna run out.
Right.
That vacuum seal isn't fully made. But yeah, that one cup, dude, is a lot of fun. But you really can't beat a Chemex, right?
Yeah, and I tried a bunch of other stuff. Growing up, my family has the Cuisinart that they've always had, auto drip, and that's really where my coffee addiction began, was at home. I think senior year in high school, maybe even my junior year, just procrastinating until the last minute and then trying to bang out a paper in a night and realizing that I was not going to be getting any sleep, which was a good precursor for college.
True, very true.
And so they had always made good coffee. Anybody who would ever come over, they would say, "Oh, this is great coffee. What do you guys use?" And we have been drinking 8 o'clock religiously for ever.
Yeah.
And I tried to switch my dad over to Death Wish, but he says it gets him a little jittery. So.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what we're aiming for.
So Chemex is good. I had tried AeroPress a little bit before I had started here. I actually didn't have my own Chemex until we released our custom bundle. Had to scoop one up. But AeroPress is cool too.
Yeah.
But there's something about the Chemex that really makes it like a ritual.
Yeah.
In that, everything is very analog.
You feel like you're summoning something.
Right, yeah.
And then you have almost need like an incantation to make it like perfect. Omnia sea coffee. It's just like, it's perfect. What do you think of, a lot of people are like, I use a French press. But
This guy does.
Personally, me, I think it's like, I don't know, the uneducated version of fancy coffee, and I mean, maybe that's just me being a coffee snob, but I have never loved a French press.
Yeah, that was kind of always the perception when I was like working in coffee early on, was like, oh, if you want fancy coffee, it's espresso drinks or it's French press. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know about Chemex or anything like that until like third wave roasters started popping up and like smaller independent coffee shops became a thing. I used to live with this guy, one of my best friends, Anthony. Shout out, Anthony.
Sup, Anthony? Sup, Tony?
He really loves his French press, and he has a setup that works really well for him. And he really likes like strong, dark coffee.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to get a routine where you have a consistent cup with a French press, where with the Chemex, there's definitely a learning curve. You know what I mean? Like if you've never heard about Chemex and you just decide to go pick up one for yourself, you're going to have to do a little bit of homework before you really are like locking into a cup that you really enjoy and like figure out like, okay, this is how I like my coffee.
Personally speaking, I mean, that's why I enjoy the French press. I do enjoy using a Chemex, and I keep saying on this show I am going to officially purchase one for myself. And I will have one at the house, and then I'll probably utilize it more. But my wife and I like doing on the weekends, like the French press, because, again, you get that. We have it dialed in. We get that same cup of coffee, and it's better than doing it out of a drip machine. I am a notorious lazy person, especially in the morning. And so, like, forever, and I always say this, that, all I knew about coffee was you hit the brew button and coffee's made as long as you put it in the you put it in the filter at the top in a drip machine. And then being able to do it out of a French press is a little bit more of a step. You're right. As a coffee snob, you're still not getting that great cup of coffee that you're getting from Chemex, but it's better than just a drip machine.
And I think maybe if people did it correctly, because I think people just smash boiling water into a French press and then just smash the plunger down, where it's like that water's too hot.
Yep.
You're going to start compromising like the shell of the bean. You're going to start breaking down pieces of it that you don't want. You're going to get a bitter, gross brew, which is like when you have a coffee like Death Wish, which is not bitter if you do it right. Mm-hmm. But you do something like that with Death Wish, and it's like, oh, this is gross and bitter. But yeah, it's gross and bitter. You threw boiling water all over the top of it. That's ridiculous,
One of the things I've been actually saying about this company that I'm hoping to implement more of this year on kind of the marketing side, but also for the customer service side, is I think we should do much more in the way of tutorial. Like almost like have our own class system out there, because I'm sure you've dealt with this. People will say, they'll get Death Wish and they'll either say, oh, it's not, how can you say you're the world's strongest coffee? It's not that strong. Or it's super bitter. And the reason for that is you're brewing it wrong.
Right, yeah.
And I think a lot of people, myself included, until I started working here, don't understand different brewing methods other than just hit that button and let it drip into your machine. You know what I mean?
Make videos.
I want to do more videos.
I've seen those out there, and that's personally how I learned to use a Chemex and an AeroPress properly, because I'd use an AeroPress all the time, but it's like I didn't really know what I was doing. And then one day I was like, actually, let me see what the experts are doing. And I can't remember. There is this barista company that has a series of videos. They do a really, really good job. They go into serious detail where they're throwing a Chemex on a scale and they're weighing everything out, which maybe that's a good way to start, because then you can eyeball after once you tune everything in. But I mean, that's a great way to get educated, is the YouTube videos.
I'm calling it right now. We're gonna make some videos. We're gonna start putting them up through Deathwish Coffee, and we're gonna rope you into it, because with people like you and our marketing manager Taya, who have worked as baristas, you guys know the ins and outs of it. And I think it would be smart to do an instructional video that not only shows you the correct way of these different brewing methods, but also the common misconceptions of what you can do wrong. You literally just said it. If you use too hot water in your French press and you put it right in there and just smash it on top of the, your grinds in there, you're not going to get the best cup of coffee out of your French press. And I think we should actually show how that's going to happen. It's obviously hard to translate taste and smell through a video, but I mean, I think if we did multiple steps and multiple different things, so look for those in this year.
That's why I keep on trying to push scratch and sniff video.
Yes,
because it's the only thing that makes sense.
Come on, technology! What the hell?
So when do you think, Mr. Mike Mullin, coffee snobbery goes too far?
Good question.
Where's that line?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the line, and this goes for pretty much anything, whether it's like coffee or music or anything like that, but where you try, you've figured it out for yourself and you think that the way that you brew is the best way ever, and you try and push that onto other people instead of try and maybe educate them or gently nudge them towards something.
Or even get educated yourself with an open mind of like, okay, I love my method. You say you love your method.
Yeah.
Let's put our methods together and make method love.
Exactly, yeah.
And see what beautiful babies, commence from that. Right. What are you doing later?
I'm taken, so.
I agree, though. I think that's where that line gets crossed, is when, people don't want to try a new thing, or at least even entertain the idea of a new thing. I mean, I'm the same way. I drink my coffee black, but there was a time in my life where I did put cream and sugar in my coffee. And even to this day, when I hear about people with different ratios of cream and sugar or different types of sugar, or even just random things, like my wife just started putting cinnamon in her coffee, which I never even knew was a thing, and I tried it. I actually kind of like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's not going to be what I do on the regular, but I'm glad I tried it. I'm glad I experienced that.
Who likes to do the same damn thing every day anyways?
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I guess some people are into that. They want their routine. They want it simplified, and like this happens and this happens and this happens. But for me, I even though, I drink Death Proof coffee every morning.
Right.
I'm putting different shit in that all the time. I'm experimenting. I want to find new ways to do it, or I'm just bored of doing it the same way every time, where you got to break up that monotony.
I want to put a common misconception out there about Deathwish Coffee to all of our listeners and watchers as well. One thing that a lot of people think is that we are coffee snobs at this job because we tout the world's strongest coffee, and it's black as the darkest night, and that's the way that we're going to drink it. That's not the truth. Even though we put out a lot of memes like that, and we do talk about that.
It's funny to say things like that.
It's fun to say. We want everybody in the world to enjoy coffee. Well, however you want to enjoy it. If you want to just chew our beans, in between meals, go right ahead. We're all for it. The reason why I'm bringing this up is a lot of times when we go to events, and you're starting to do some stuff with store demos and stuff, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But when we start doing like live events, one of the things we always get is, do you have cream and sugar? And more often than not, at events we don't, because if we're giving out a free sample, just think about logistically having to keep all that cream on ice, all that sugar in a cool, dry place, wherever we're going to. So it's just way easier just to bring the product, just so you can try the product. If you don't drink it black, we still want you to taste what we're selling, kind of thing,
But see, I'm gonna go against you a little bit on this, because I have seen so many people go, I need to drink it with cream and sugar. And then I'll say something like, well, we want you to drink it black so you actually taste what our coffee's made of.
Right.
And they go, okay. And then they drink it and they're like, actually, that's pretty good.
Right.
I feel like I've converted somebody to being a black coffee drinker at that point.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people just throw cream and sugar in it because they've been drinking shitty coffee their whole life.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to make it palatable.
Yeah.
But then after they try a good coffee, black, and they're like, oh, no, that's what coffee tastes like? It's actually pretty good. It's pretty smooth. I don't know, where do you fall on that line? Cream and sugar at events? Or no cream and sugar at events?
It makes it logistically very hard
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Let's say
like
it's
you were
super.
saying.
Let's say it's super easy. We find a dispenser and it comes out.
Maybe in our new coffee truck with a refrigeration system.
Yeah, let's say that happens. Would you rather have somebody have all the availability of having to be able to make the coffee the way they like it, or do you want them to try Death Wish in its raw, natural form?
That's a really tough one because I am a big advocate for having people try black coffee, especially when it's very good. And that's actually how I was converted was, over at a friend's house. They didn't have cream and sugar. They were brewing up some really great coffee. And they're just like, just drink it black. And I tried it and I really liked it. But there are, maybe that 2% of people who still won't try the coffee because we don't have the cream and sugar. And I would really I want, part of my customer service background is, please all the people all the time.
Right.
Even if you can't, you got to try. So, it would be better in my eyes to have the cream and sugar if it's possible, just to make everybody happy. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because there'll be some people
both can go to hell.
I agree, though.
We're going to get into a fist fight before this is over. I'm telling you. It's a three-way
There's
fist
a
fight.
chicken soup back here.
But kind of going back to events, one of the other things that you're doing with this job, which is something that we've never done before, because in 2018 we're working very hard to become more into the retail space, is not just an e-commerce company. And you've been going out to some supermarkets that we're starting to get our hands in and actually doing demos. How has that been going? Can you talk a little bit about that?
It's been going really well. I mean, I've only done a couple that are in the local area of the capital region.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are really familiar with us already, and they're really excited to see us as soon as they see, because I feel like first they'll smell coffee and they'll kind of meander over, but then as soon as they see that it's Death Wish, they're like ecstatic, which is
That's awesome.
It's one of the coolest things. You know what I mean? I used to work for Trader Joe's, like I said, and people would get really excited about that. If I was going and running errands after my shift or something like that, and I had my shirt on, everybody would want to chat me up about it. And
I love Trader Joe's.
Yeah, exactly.
They make good coffee too. By the way.
It's not bad, right? But yeah, I mean, like, it's tenfold with Death Wish because people love that we are a local company that's, really making a dent in the industry, and people love supporting local business. And the reception has been overwhelmingly positive. And then the people who don't know us are excited to try some new coffee. It's something that literally almost everybody drinks. You know what I mean? So
it really is.
when somebody finds out that they can try something new, and that their supermarket that they go to weekly has something a little bit different for them to offer, they're really excited about it.
Yeah, and for everybody who's listening and watching out there, you can go on over to deathwishcoffee.com, and we're starting to list everywhere we're going to be throughout the year, so keep checking back, which is really exciting because, I mean, for the longest time, we were only online, and now we are, in a lot of different supermarkets on the East Coast. We're working into the West Coast, and then hopefully we just start to meld the two coasts together, and then the world.
I think I got the number the other day. It was something like 500 and something retail stores.
500 retail stores already. That's insanely cool. Going from zero.
Yeah, and we're staring in the face of like another 500 tomorrow.
That's so
and then
cool.
also pretty much staring in the face of another 1,200 around the corner. So it's like, it's happening. It's like right there. Super excited to do this.
So excited. So going back to the customer service angle, you've worked in customer service, but like you said, customer service is an art almost because you have to, pretty much tailor what you're doing to the customer and the company.
It's like podcasting. It's a conversational art.
Correct.
Definitely.
Or communicational art.
So coming into a company like Death Wish, was it hard? Did you find it hard to kind of acclimate towards kind of our brand, our voice, our what we are in the customer service world?
Not really, actually. It was really seamless transition.
Even my water's excited
I
about it.
splash you! Answer questions why I splash you! I dare you! I splash!
God.
Baptism by podcast.
God. But you didn't find it hard?
No, yeah. The job I had before was very challenging because a lot of times there were technical aspects in the way of fixing something for the customer immediately.
Okay.
So we were waiting on a bug fix. We were waiting on QA to get through, testing something so that they could find a solution.
Right. They want to get off the phone and their technology work immediately
right, exactly,
afterwards. Right.
Exactly. I think everybody's had that frustrating call with maybe like a cell phone company or cable company or internet provider.
Oh, yeah.
And what we did was smart home, technology. So it's like, an app-based system that you would turn lights on and off with your phone, adjust your thermostat, things like that.
Make it feel like Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Until your home starts revolting against you and you have to call you up and go, please help me, my home is trying to kill me.
So
I think Bill Gates is in my house.
But yeah, so there are very few issues with coffee that are as difficult as, trying to troubleshoot an application and also hardware to figure out where, something is going wrong. So, no, it's been a pleasure really to meet so many new awesome people, not only who work here, but who are our customers and, kind of build a connection in the very short span of 6 months. It feels like I've been here forever already. And
Yeah,
it's really great.
I got to bring this up because I know I've heard some customers talk about this. It is widely known that our CEO and fearless leader is Mike Brown. And when customers call up and get Mike on the phone, because you answer the phone, Death Wish Coffee, Mike speaking, do you get that a lot? Do you get people being like, oh my God, I'm talking to Mike Brown? Do you get that?
I get it all the time. I don't mind it at all, but what I mind is that...
Do you lean into it? Do you go, yes, I am Mike Brown?
No, I'm petrified.
And here's where I live, and here's a list of my fears.
Here's my dog's name.
That's funny.
No, yeah. The only part that bothers me about it is that people are very... Not noticeably, although sometimes they are noticeably, and they'll share their disappointment with me. But it's a bit of a letdown when they realize that it's not Mike Brown on the phone. But he's a very busy man. I know that if he could be answering calls, sometimes he would be. But it's just not a possibility for him right now with all the stuff going on.
We've been toying with the idea. In fact, I don't even know if this is out there yet, but we've been toying with the idea for maybe like an April Fool's Day or a kind of day like that where for an hour we all kind of switch jobs. So like customer service does marketing, and like Mike does customer service, and like logistics does like whatever you guys would do.
Yeah, I see how that would go.
Yeah, that's just be
I'm like trying to
hilarious.
picture it. Somebody in my job, they'd just be getting calls and emails going, I don't know.
National news. You hear on the news like Death Wish Coffee is just went belly up because of a crazy hour of the workday where
That's what would happen, man. I'm a watcher on the post. So do you have any and it doesn't have to be at this job in particular, but do you have any particularly funny customer service situations that you've run
terrifying?
into?
Oh man, I was really racking my brain about what to talk about for this in terms of like a story or something, and I feel like we kind of already touched on it with the whole mic thing,
Right,
But
right.
there was a day where because it's me, Christine, and Caden, and we all do the customer service thing. We're all sitting next to each other, hanging out. And I'm the first one to answer the phones, so I'm the one picking up the most calls most of the time. So I'll do my bit. It's not really a bit. It's just thanks for calling Death Wish Coffee. This is Mike. How can I help you? Mm-hmm. And that day I had gotten already probably about 10 people being like, "Oh my God, Mike Brown," and I would have to say, "No, this is a different Mike. I'm Mike Mullin."
Oh.
And they'll be like, "Oh well." I guess we can work together. So I turned over to Kate and I was like, this next call, I'm going to say, thanks for calling Death Wish Coffee. This is Miguel. Because technically it's not a lie.
It's not a lie.
And I feel like it would kind of mitigate that disappointment because it's really about not disappointing the customers.
Right.
And also not completely demoralizing yourself.
Right.
Oh, the other mic? Okay.
But yeah, so, and the funniest part to me was that a lot of times when I answered, the phone as Mike, people would just say, "Oh, hey, Mike, this is my issue," or "Oh, hey, Mike, how are you doing? Just wanted to talk about this." But when I said, "Thanks for calling, this is Miguel," people would just not bat an eye, and they would be like, "Oh, hey, Miguel, how's it going?" And that to me was funnier than me saying it initially. So then I would have to stifle up. They think my name's actually Miguel, but why wouldn't they? I mean, that's what I just said.
Yeah,
so.
And you're not lying. That's really funny. So outside of work, we all love this company. We're all doing what we can to make Death Wish caffeinate the world. But what gets you going outside of work? I know a little of your hobbies. I know you're a hobby gamer, and you're also into hip hop.
I do love hip hop. Yeah.
He's also a bassist.
I do. Play
I did not know this about you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. When did you start playing bass?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I had a group of friends probably when I was around like 12 or 13 who were all like, we were at the time it was the typical like listening to Green Day and Newfound Glory and stuff like that era of alt rock and into emo and kind of stuff like that, and they were all just like, let's start a band. You know what I mean?
Always the way it's happens.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one of my friends was and I've always been in band and music in school, so I started with clarinet, moved on to saxophone, but, couldn't really land any gigs as like a 12-year-old sax player in a rock band, Billy Joel's
You're not
era
working
had
hard enough.
passed.
Sorry. Sorry, I can't tell you how many times I've been looking for a 12-year-old saxophone player to play in my band.
But
Put it in that way.
we're gonna edit that out. No, but like so, one of my friends was a drummer and the other one had a guitar, and they were kind of just like, you should get a bass.
That's how it always works.
Right.
The one left over plays bass.
Yeah.
That's how I ended in there.
But I had recently been getting into jazz a lot, and I was trying out for jazz band, but didn't quite have the chops to cut it for jazz. At the time, I think I was a freshman in high school or maybe in 8th grade, and so I was like, bass might be the way for me to go to get into that possibly. But I had gone to Mom and said, "Mom, hey, some kids are starting a band. They want me to play bass," and she was super supportive, as she's always been. Thanks, Mom.
That's awesome.
And got me like a Johnson, cheapo bass, but it actually sounded great.
Sometimes cheapo basses do sound.
Yeah,
great.
it's
I
so
don't know
crazy.
Why. It like pisses me off. I'll pick up a Rogue jazz bass, and it's like, why does this fucking thing sound so good?
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
$150. I went out and spent like $1,200 on a bass, and it doesn't sound this good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so did that. We, my two friends, Tom and Mike, we, I think played all of maybe like 10 times in our buddy Tom's basement, and
what was the name of the band?
Ooh, yeah.
Pirate Radio.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. You get sued a little maybe at this end.
Yeah,
this stage,
yeah.
But no, I like that. That's good.
I was
Better than some early band names. For
yeah.
Sure.
Well, at first,
what was the one? I can't remember. Aaron Patrick's. Oh, I can't remember. We're not gonna remember.
Yeah, I don't. Oh no, I remember. Window pane. P-A-I-N. Shout out to Aaron Patrick from All That Remains for the worst band name ever.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad you remember that.
So are you still playing?
Yeah, I still play bass. I have a really good friend. We try and get together and play music every once in a while. I've just been super busy with other things at the time, but I still, like to pick up my bass
That's awesome.
And play through some tunes or just kind of go through some exercises. for a while I was gonna go to school for bass and do that, but then it ended up not working out. But the things.
Hey, you still do it because you love it. That's the whole thing. That's awesome.
Don't worry, I went to school for bass. I wasn't so great. I dropped out really quick.
So quickly then, to touch on your other hobbies, you're a big hip hop fan.
Yep.
Top 3 all time.
Oh man, just MCs or groups or
or I mean MC or groups. Let just say if you were to like put three acts on to listen to back right now, what would it be?
Oh man. So my first hip hop love was the Beastie Boys.
Yes.
Thanks to my dad, he like gave me Hello Nasty when I was like 10 and was like, "Don't tell your mom."
Damn it, your parents are so
your
cool.
parents are awesome.
Jesus.
Holy crow.
So, one of the first records I ever memorized like the lyrics to, even though I didn't know what it meant.
Such a good record.
But some great coffee references on
Totally.
that record too.
Totally.
50 cups of coffee and it's on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like my sugar with coffee and cream.
Yep.
Anyway, but so yeah, I'd probably have to put the Beastie Boys up there. Really fell in love with them, and then later on, like in college era, I had like a resurgence of them and got further into their like discography when I found out like what kind of records they were sampling with like Paul's Boutique and stuff like that, and it just kind of went crazy from there. A Tribe Called Quest, very classic hip hop, love them. And then I would have to say People Under the Stairs is another big hip hop group for me. West Coast hip hop. They're more recent, but still have that really old school vibe. Really cool stuff. So I'd probably put those guys as my top 3 groups. And then as far as like MCs, I don't know if
it's tough, right?
We would have to have a whole podcast.
Yeah, all right.
Dissecting.
We'll get you back on. Actually, we should get you on
TBT.
Yeah, Mr. Throwback Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
And like, because that is the best hip hop podcast out there, Friends of Deathwish Coffee.
Yeah.
So onto the video game side. What's your poison? What genre do you really like in video games?
For sure, yeah. I'm a big adventure.
All right.
Adventure, some RPG, but I had a Game Boy at like a really young age, and one of the first games I fell in love with was Link.
Yes.
Link's Awakening.
Yep.
Zelda Link's Awakening.
So good.
Just totally like fell in love with the little world that you're put in, and I played that game for years probably without accomplishing any of the goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Games like that.
You just walk around and you talk to the little NPCs and there's like a whole trading thing that happens in the game, and I would just go around like trying to complete the trading sequence, but then there's like a part where you can't progress until you at least beat the first dungeon.
Right, yeah.
So, but yeah, always a big fan of Zelda games. Big Nintendo guy. Been loving the Switch.
Yeah, we gotta start twitching the Switch.
No,
for sure,
absolutely.
For sure.
I've been
twitching the Switch. Switching.
That sounds perverted.
Yeah. You go keep looking for your 12-year-old sax player. Okay? We'll be playing some video games. You got nothing.
You'll be twitching the Switch.
Twitching the Switch. So with everything that you're doing outside of work, with work, you've been here for 6 months. You seem to really enjoy being here. We love having you here. That's the question we come to. What fuels you to keep wanting to be here? To keep wanting to get up every day and doing
and
what
you can't
do.
say paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say paycheck.
No, I mean specifically coming here, just the relationships that I've built with, everybody here already, and
Except for Jeff.
Except for
me.
This is the first time we've talked ever,
Yes.
actually. No, just like I feel like I'm really helping out our customers, and I feel like I'm really helping out the company. Everything that I do doesn't have the feeling of just monotony of like, day after day doing the same thing to no end. It all has a very distinct purpose within what we do here, and it's meaningful work. People can talk smack about, people who answer phones for a living all they want, and most of the stuff I do on the phone is like taking orders and stuff like that. A lot of our stuff comes in through email and social media, but and I don't know, even if somebody has a problem, I love helping them out because I don't know, it just shows, I love showing how much we actually care, because it's not just about, the perception of, that we care about, our customers. There's a community around this coffee like I've never seen around anything else that I've worked for. It's crazy. There's people who call up and it's like, your uncle's calling in to like, catch up and hang out. And I have a couple customers who just call to say, hey, to say what's up. And it's really great. It's a really beautiful thing.
It's awesome. Well, you, Caden, and Sierra and Christine, all doing everything you can with the customer service angle, like you said, from social media to the phones to the emails to everything else. I don't think I know for a fact I've never worked for a company like this personally, but I don't think I've ever heard of a company whose customer service is constantly talked about. Like, you guys kill it on a daily basis, and we couldn't be happier to have you as a part of this team.
Well, I think, what makes it so great is that not only do we have great customer service representatives, is that you're all cool fucking people.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And that shows. Even in a 5-minute conversation, that shows. And that's what makes working for this company so cool for all of us, is that we're all cool people.
Yeah.
And it makes the company cool.
Yeah.
And it makes our jobs cool.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
It's exciting to work for a company like this, just with all of the different aspects that we get to do. And a question I like to ask when we have employees on is, do you think that there is avenues that we haven't touched on yet, or maybe avenues that we have but we should touch on further? Do you think we should be – are there any areas of the world, like within pop culture or wherever it is, do you think that we should be kind of focusing on maybe in 2018, 2019?
Yeah, I mean, we do a really good job. It's a real small crew, and it's amazing how much that we actually do. So, whenever I'm thinking of, what we're not touching on, it's always kind of in the context of, well, we're already doing so much.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we can. But I feel like there's stuff, we reach out to a lot of, like, rock and alternative, like, groups and stuff like that, and they seem to really resonate with what our brand is and things like that. But I'd love to see a little more. I mean, like, we had that talk with Wyclef recently, and he's amazing, and he was even on earlier, too. But, yeah, I think more of like the multicultural vibe when it comes to music and stuff like that. But I feel like we're going in such a good direction with, getting as much coffee as we can out to as many people as possible, always thinking of different products that we can bring to people so that they can enjoy our coffee in different ways. I think it's just about getting more people, different kinds of people to, hear about us and get to try it out. So
definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question. The answer might get you in trouble.
Okay.
But you got to answer honestly.
Sure.
And no bullshit.
wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy.
bullshit.
Okay.
No
All right.
bullshit,
I'll
frilly
stand
shit.
strong.
Death Wish or Valhalla Java?
Oh, Death Wish.
Yeah.
Just like that. Do you even like Valhalla Java?
I mean, it's...
Zach Wilde is listening right now.
Zach, listen. It's good coffee. But Death Wish,
Yeah?
it's the best.
There we go. I love it. That's a new commercial right there.
Please don't hurt me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if people want to find you on the internet, where should they look?
Do you use
Yeah.
social media at
Do you
all?
social
or-
I have
medias.
social media, yeah. You can find me pretty much on any platform at Deep Slacker Jazz.
Awesome.
Is my handle, all one word. No
We could
weird
probably put it
spelling.
right here.
Yeah, I'll
right?
put it
Yeah,
right
just
here.
like right here.
Yeah. Yeah,
At
perfect.
Deep Slacker Jazz.
Perfect.
SoundCloud, Instagram. That's what I'm on most of the time. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. This was
Awesome.
fun, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This is great.
I love talking with everybody that works here and getting them on a platform like this. And you are the first person that we've had on this show who's been here for less than a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Except for Jeff himself.
Except for me. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Like, I mean, I started this show before I started working for the company.
I know. I remember.
I was in negative. So it's very cool because one of the things that I usually talk to about employees is like a perspective type thing, you know? And because you've been here for 6 months, that doesn't really translate, but it's interesting to talk to someone who's only been here for 6 months because, you know, you've got the hunger and you still see what has happened in that short amount of time. So it was really, really cool to talk with you, and thanks so much.
No, yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's
Awesome.
great.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.